Hello, everyone. Happy Friday night. Thanks for joining us here on the Franchising 360 show. I am Tim Parmeter, and with me, as always, is the lovely and talented Danielle Wright.
Hello.
No, I'm not being rude, people. She's my wife. I can say she's lovely and probably does me much better if I do. But hello, lovely wife. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. We have a guest coming up tonight.
We do.
One of our all-time faves.
Yes.
So not so much his son-in-law, but
I thought you promised you wouldn't bring him up.
I didn't say his name, but
Okay.
we are a couple days away from Veterans Day.
Important holiday, yes.
And absolutely, and veterans play an enormous role in franchising, much more so than I think people realize. And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a cool organization tonight.
Some of the best franchises I know are veterans.
Why is that?
Because they just are great. They follow a plan. They do what they're told. They want to be successful. They all of the things. So
I think when you ask most franchises, and we had a whole episode on the plan,
Yes.
right? Follow the plan, put forth the effort, and I think folks in the military, like that's from pretty much day one, that is drilled into have the work ethic, the discipline to follow
the mission.
plan.
Remember,
right?
It's always a mission. What is the mission?
It is the mission.
It is the mission.
And the organization we're going to talk about today is VetFran, which is funny because they have like their whole mission of
Look at me, as if we've never done this before.
What that looks like. But and our guest, Pete Baldine from Moran Family Brands, will talk about that in a second. But I think most of us, whether we have been in the military, we've got family,
Yes.
close friends. You and I have been in franchising a combined 25 years. We've seen a lot of veterans come in and just be like rock star owners.
Yes.
But we've got some family connections to
So we should
veterans
use
as well.
this to kind of say thank you for your service, all
Yes,
veterans,
all of them.
no matter what. But both my grandfathers were in the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. We have someone that works with me, Rich Ronnery, shout out. He's a retired military vet after 25 plus years. So lots of great people to circle ourselves with. So
Yes, yeah.
love
And-
celebrating them
No,
and
I know.
their
And
sacrifice.
and my brother-in-law, who has the misfortune of marrying my sister, was
not very nice.
was a veteran as well. But it really, and I think again, whether and I know Pete's going to talk about this, whether you become a franchise owner or just become an employee after being a veteran.
Yeah.
Veterans are everywhere in franchising.
So we have a lot of franchisors. Like there's one specifically. We'll give another shout out. We're based here in Tampa, Florida, and so VetCor is a remediation brand that's owned and operated by veterans, and it's who they hire. It's who they look for as franchise owners. That's why it's their name. But very passionate about it as we are as a community. So, and for anybody watching, veterans, non-veterans, it kind of gives you that next step, right? They've been structured for so long. How do I go work in the real world? Some of them want to, some of them don't want to, but the thing that you're really looking for is that same thing we always talk about: freedom, flexibility, balance. What is that for me? And how do they take that skill set they had there and apply it to something that they can get time back in their lives? They sacrifice so much from their family and their friends and watching their kids grow up at that transition time, that year transition that they're doing all of these things to move from one thing to another. It really gives them the opportunity to look at something for themselves.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned VetCor. It's interesting. One of the other really big ones that is in the same space that's veteran driven. Our friends at Pure Clean down in South Florida, like their whole leadership team, I think is there. And
it's like disaster surrounds it, right? Who does well in a disaster?
Right.
That's right.
Well, and we had Stephanie Ruby on a while back with Bio One.
Again, there
huge,
you go.
Huge from that standpoint. They're like, oh, that ain't nothing, right? But I think that's that overall structure. If you go to work for Bob's Remediation,
right.
No offense, Bob probably isn't as organized and as structured as a franchise owner.
Or has the book.
Right.
So when you think about it, that's what they're,
the playbook.
Hey, here I go, and I did step 1, that goes to step 2, and they kind of need that structure.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we come back,
sadly, I am going to disappear.
Sadly, you're going to be gone.
I am.
And we're going to replace you with
Pete Baldine,
the president of Moran Family of Brands, which is a really premier A group of automotive franchises: Milex Complete Auto Care, Mr. Transmission,
The tent one.
the Tint one, which I almost always forget, but Turbo Tint. And Pete is also part of VetFran, which is the premier organization in franchising dedicated to veterans. We're going to talk to Pete on the Franchising 360 show right after this. All right, we are back here on the Franchising 360 show, and our guest joining us to talk about VetFran and all the amazing things that are doing for veterans is the one, the only Mr. Pete Baldine. Pete, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me.
I know you didn't have anything better to do on a Friday night than this.
Well, no, this is great. I'm happy to help VetFran anytime.
We always enjoy talking to you, and especially today as we are a couple days away from Veterans Day on Monday and the amazing work that VetFran does. We want to talk about that, but franchising, as you know, you've been in this a long time, is all about people. Give us the Pete scoop. Kind of how did you get started into this crazy world?
I got started in franchising, I'd say by accident, like a lot of people have. My career goal was to coach college football, and I was doing that. Coached a year at Cortland State University, and also a year at Western Maryland College. And then I was approached by the head coach at Western Maryland to do him a favor and go out to Utah for a couple of months to keep an eye on this new business that he was starting. Well, the new business that he was starting ended up being Jiffy Lube. He was the founder. He ended up being the founder of Jiffy Lube. And our agreement for me to go out there for 2 months never materialized. He never brought me back, and that was the end of my coaching career and the beginning of my franchising career.
That sounds familiar,
mentor.
Pete.
He's still my mentor to this day. I talk to him every week. He'll be 89 next week.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. But like so many people, right? Like it's accident, and then the next thing you know, decades go by, and we're still in this crazy world.
Exactly, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love franchising.
I am with you. I know it's been amazing, done amazing things for both of us personally and our families, and you're doing amazing work with as part of the team at VetFran. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so VetFran was formed by a gentleman by the name of Don Dwyer back in 1991, and Don had an idea and a commitment to help veterans, transition from the service. And so he worked with the IFA and established the VetFran program. And it was really designed to, help veterans discover franchising and small business ownership, and also help franchise what good franchisees veterans could be.
Right. Why is that?
And so well, there's a lot of reasons, Tim, that veterans, and I'll try to hit on some of those, but a lot of reasons why they make good franchisees. Now, a real basic one, like for us at Moran Family of Brands, being an automotive franchisor, a lot of veterans, when they're in the service, get a lot of experience from a mechanical standpoint, whether they're working on heavy equipment, whether they're aircraft mechanics, they're working in the truck pool. And at Moran Family of Brands, we find that those guys who have had that experience can transition and become really good mechanics or franchisees for us in our automotive brands. But more importantly, I think that it's the characteristics and core values. Like at Moran Family of Brands, we have a established set of core values that we try to live by, which is dedication, respect, integrity, vision, and engagement. And we find that the veterans bring into the system really share those kind of courses.
Yeah. When you talk a lot about, as a franchisor, not just you guys, but everyone, you ask, hey, what's the first thing you're looking for in a candidate being able to follow a plan? And folks in the military, that's kind of beat into them essentially right away. And it really is a huge integral part of what they do to be successful in the military. And then also as a franchise owner, that translates really well, would you say?
Oh, absolutely, Tim. That was, going to be one of my next points with after those specifics there. But veterans in the service have to follow the system. It's a huge requirement.
Right.
And so when they come out, they tend to be very process driven. They tend to want a system. It's like, yeah, I want to be a small business owner. I want to be a franchisee, but I also want the support. I also want the team aspect of this. I want to be able to utilize the resources that you have in your support center. And I want a very defined system to follow. So we find that they're a great fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the ways VetFran is there to help people get into it. I know there's some true benefits that they can provide. Let's come back after the break and talk a little bit more about VetFran and how they can help franchise owners be successful. That on the Franchising 360 show after this. And we are back on the Franchising 360 show. Joining us tonight is the president of Moran Family of Brands, Mr. Pete Baldine, and we are talking about VetFran. Pete, we talked about earlier why veterans make fantastic franchise owners, and we could probably go for hours on all those different reasons. Talk to us a little bit about VetFran and some of the things and kind of programs they have to help veterans not only get started, but then succeed once they are a franchise owner.
Yeah, sure, Tim. Thank you. So, one of the things on the surface that a lot of people talk about are the discounts off of the franchise fee that franchisor members offer to veterans to purchase franchise. That's certainly a great benefit, and we're tracking a lot of that about how many dollars over the years been able to save because of those discounts. But I think fundamentally there's some things that are even more important than that. VetFran is kind of based on three pillars, which is, veteran education programs, and then franchisor engagement programs as well. And each of those is really designed to help engage both veterans with franchisors and also with franchisors to veterans. There are only 7% of the population are veterans,
right?
But 14% of franchisees are veterans. Okay,
It's crazy how much higher that percentage is.
Yeah, it's literally double of what it is in the population.
Yeah.
And then I'm proud to say that at Moran Family of Brands, because of the focus that we've had on veterans over the years, our veteran franchise percentage is 21%.
Wow. And then the other piece that I think outside of veterans owning, it's veterans being employees of franchise owners, whether they're veteran owned or not. And I know there's always the kind of the push for that, but even just employees within other franchisors, it's a huge kind of almost disproportionately high population of veterans in franchising.
So Tim, that 14% of franchisees across the franchising world, that's franchise ownership. But I'm glad you brought that up, because a big focus with VetFran, has been helping veterans transition into civilian life with employment in the franchising world. A large percentage of veterans that are coming back from deployment do not have the financial wherewithal to buy a business and become a franchisee. Let's face it, a lot of these vet coming back are in their early 20s.
Right.
Okay. So in order to positively impact veterans, yes, we have this push to try to help them become franchise owners. Okay. But also it's extremely important in trying to hire veterans within the franchise system and have them work within systems. And then some of the franchisors also will, have some programs where if a veteran comes back as an employee, then they have a pathway down the road to ownership as they build up some financial wherewithal.
Yeah, which is super cool. And if you think of the reasons why a veteran coming back would be a great franchise owner, there's also the same reasons why they're going to be a great employee, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So Pete, what got you involved with VetFran?
It was a passion of mine. I think that one regret that I would say that I have, Tim, is that I did not serve in the military myself. I went right to college, and I'm convinced that I would have been a much better college student if I had gone in the military first and then went to college.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's part of it. And because I did not serve myself, it became a passion of mine of trying to, because I believe in it, and trying to help veterans make that transition back. So I reached out to VetFran a couple of years ago and requested to be on the committee.
Which is good to know too, because you don't have to be a veteran to be involved in VetFran. You don't have to be a veteran to hire as a franchise owner to understand the importance and the great work that you're going to get from our veterans when they come back.
Yeah, that's right. And many of the people on the committee are veterans and have served. And then we have a number of folks like myself who did not serve but are very committed to helping veterans make this transition.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if anybody wanted to learn more about VetFran, their fantastic website would be vetfran.org, correct?
VetFran.org.
Excellent.
VetFran.org is the website. Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
And there's a lot of information. There's a lot of really good information on vetfran.org. VetFran has a newer director, Wendy Kuntz, who has been in charge of VetFran this past year, and she's doing a fantastic job and really has been pulling together, along with the committee, a lot of great programs to help veterans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so check out vetfran.org. Pete Baldine, Moran Family of Brands, joining us to talk about VetFran. Pete, thank you for your time joining us tonight. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you, Tim. Appreciate everything you do.
Oh, no, my pleasure. And we'll be right back on the Franchising 360 show after this. All right, we are back on the Franchising 360 show. Thanks so much to Pete Baldine for joining us. And but instead of Pete, we got Danielle back with us.
Magic. I twiddled my nose, and here I am.
It is super good, and love talking to Pete. And
how did that go? Because I disappeared.
You did. It was awesome. We talked about VetFran, and I think the one stat he threw out that is, veterans make up about 7% of the population, but almost 14% of franchise owners are veteran owned, which is crazy.
Right. Really great stat.
Yes.
I don't know how to go after that.
There was no question. It was just flat.
So anything that VetFran is doing now to kind of help grow that number? How do we get to more veterans and let them know that franchising is open to them?
Well, all 6 people that watch this show can spread that to their friends and family who are veterans. But really, just again, I wanted to, and I know you and I both did, take
Yes.
a moment to, like, again, say thank you to our
Thank you for your
veterans,
service.
and just like sometimes people may not know where to go afterwards, but there are wide open welcoming arms in the franchising world for veterans.
And the thing that we haven't talked about, or I don't know if you guys did, was like obtaining financial assistance for veterans to get into business ownership is more available than you would think.
Yeah.
There are tons of opportunities out there for a veteran to become a business owner. So don't let economics or any of that stop you from saying, what does this look like for me? It's always good to ask the question. And again, the word plan, come back to the plan.
And there are franchises, and Pete referenced this, there are some franchises that you can even come in as an employee and they'll have some pathway to grow, which, how's anybody out there going to know that? Well, you're probably not, but fortunately there's an amazing organization called Fran Coach that can, to be able to help with that. But that is, like, in all seriousness, that's part of what our team does, is help be able to match people up.
And no matter, like, talk to any franchise person and they're going to raise their hand and try to help you figure out how to make that happen. Because it's definitely a missed opportunity if you don't. But again, like, doors are open. Let's make the calls.
No, and missed opportunity is a thing to take a moment to.
You're going to make me cry, aren't you? Like, that's not good to do on camera.
I know, but our original, thanks to Pete for jumping in.
Thanks, Pete.
But we were originally supposed to have an amazing human being named Ron Bender on the show, and he unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago. So
see, now we're both going to cry. Thanks for that.
So it's going to mess up my makeup.
Oh, probably more mine than yours.
But
he was a very big advocate for VetFran. He had participated in a lot of different events. That's where you would always see him. He's been in the franchising industry for a long time. The ironies of all the things and what we've read about him is that there was no one person that wasn't a friend from the moment you met him. So he is greatly missed. We will miss all of his contributions to franchising in the VetFran program, but may he rest in peace.
And you know, probably all you need to know about the character of an individual, that he literally, one of the franchises he represented, had a kilt, and probably the first 10 times I ever saw Ron was in a kilt. And you're like, why is this dude walking around in a kilt? But he had a passion and a huge heart for veterans, but franchising, and
very big advocate. So he will be missed.
Absolutely. So that's the unfun part of this. But again, just kind of a little
people
reminder.
That become like friends and family in this industry. That's the piece I want people to take away with from this, is like, we all become very close because we're just as equally crazy as the rest of them. So it's a group of nutty franchise people that have each other's back. So it's sad when one leaves this earth, but we hope to do them justice.
No, absolutely. Assets. And I think anytime we have a guest, whether this show is obviously new, but on the podcast forever, is the first question I always want to ask people in franchise: how did you get involved? Right? This is a people business, and you get in and you just connect. It's this big, massive community of people. And so I think when you think about maybe becoming a franchise owner, or maybe you want to turn your business into a franchise, and that's something about the veterans program, everywhere.
Right? Is because they were part of a group, a very specific group that decided to take that shot. And now you're in another group that does the same thing. They take the same risks, maybe a little less life-giving, but you know, ultimately it's the same camaraderie that you're looking for, and you can get that repeated. But
absolutely.
And on that note,
next week, we are going to talk about, once you become a franchise owner, the ways in which you can grow and scale this into a big, massive empire, or whatever is going to make you happy. That is next week, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on BizTV. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you next Friday.